checking in to regularly scheduled programming to bring you a breaking news update. Good afternoon. I'm Abby Turpin.
And I'm Ron Steele. A body found in rural Poweshiek County today. Investigators are about to tell us at this press conference in the community of Montezuma. It is that of 20-year-old Mollie Tibbetts, and that a suspect is already in custody.
Now, the 20-year-old was last seen in her hometown of Brooklyn back on July 18th. This is obviously something we have been following very closely over the past nearly 5 weeks.
Now, of course, Mollie would have started her sophomore year this week at the University of Iowa. She disappeared back on that July night after going out for a jog in her hometown. Let's go to the news conference right now.
I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here today, and we wanted to pass along some information to you as well as the community and the nation as a whole. Behind me I have representatives from the Iowa Department of Public Safety, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Office. What I'd like to do first is read a brief statement to you, and then after that I'll be happy to take as many questions as I can. A first-degree murder charge was filed today in connection with the disappearance of Mollie Tibbetts, who was last seen jogging in Brooklyn, Iowa on July 18, 2018. A complaint and affidavit names Christian Bahina Rivera, age 24, who resides in rural Poweshiek County, and he has been charged with murder in the first degree. Dozens of law enforcement officials from local, state, and federal agencies were involved in the investigation after the disappearance of Mollie Tibbetts. A body was discovered early this morning in a farm field southeast of Brooklyn, Iowa. The identity has not been confirmed, however, we believe it to be the body of Mollie Tibbetts. A complaint and affidavit, which will be provided to you, will provide the details and of allegations against Mr. Rivera. Charges were filed in the Poweshiek County District Court. The case will be prosecuted by the Iowa Attorney General's Area Prosecution Division, and first-degree murder carries a penalty of life without the possibility of parole. And I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I can. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Immigration status and his background.
We have confirmed with Homeland Security investigations that he is an illegal alien, and we believe he has been in this area now for 4 to 7 years.
How did you come into contact with him? How did he get on your radar?
Well, during the investigation, we reached out to the public, as you well know. And during our neighborhood canvass, we came across an individual that had security cameras. We took those cameras. He was kind enough to give us the footage from it. And through that, we were able to identify a vehicle that we believe belonged to Mr. Rivera. It was a black Malibu. And from that, we were able to track his pattern and the routes in which he took. We're also able to find Mollie running on this video, and we're able to determine that he was one of the last ones to have seen Mollie running based on the video, again, that we were able to seize from the general public.
Investigators search this area generally.
I'm sorry?
Do you believe that he abducted her? What did he tell you? What do you believe he did?
Well, again, we were able to pull him in during the investigation. We conducted a lengthy interview with Mr. Rivera, and during that interview, he tells us that he sees Mollie running and was able to come upon her, approach her, and while he was interfacing with her, he actually tells us that he ran alongside of her or behind her. And then at one point, he tells us that Mollie grabbed a hold of her phone and said, "You need to leave me alone, I'm going to call the police." And then she took off running. He in turn chased her down. And then he tells us that at some point in time he blacks out, and then he comes to near an intersection in which we believe he then placed Mollie.
Where did this happen? Where was this happening?
I'm sorry?
Where did this happen? What street?
On 385th Street.
In what town?
In Brooklyn, outside of Brooklyn, actually, in the rural county, just outside of Brooklyn, Iowa.
On this side over here, that general area has been searched by investigators the last several weeks. What led you specifically to this area today, this morning?
On 385th Street, yeah, or the location of Mollie? Because there are two different locations.
Location where Mollie remains.
Actually, after we got done interviewing Mr. Rivera, he led us to her location. And that location was near 460th Street or Avenue in rural Poweshiek County.
Any information on how she was killed?
aren't able to release all the information in the investigation, and so I hope you understand that I can't give everything out, and that is one of the things that we're not able to provide at this time. I'm sorry?
Did Rivera know Mollie before?
Again, I'm not going to be able to provide certain information. That is one of which I'm not able to provide. I had a question.
Investigators have been searching this area for weeks. Why was she not found before? Why did it take this suspect to lead you to the body?
Well, I'm sure you've driven around the area, and it's a rural county, and there are a lot of fields, a lot of woods, a lot of ditches. We have certainly had extensive searches throughout the county. We just didn't have success locating her. In this particular case, she was found in a cornfield, and there were corn stalks placed over the top of her, and so we just weren't able to locate her at this particular part of the investigation. Yes?
Can you talk about the timeline, when you got this security video, when you found out about Mr. Rivera, when you questioned him, just kind of when this all happened?
Well, we got the video a week or two ago, and we spent hours going through the video trying to, first of all, locate Mollie on it. Secondly, see if there's anything suspicious following Mollie, which is what we did. And so we again spent hours going through that. Officers did a great job coming up with the timeline. I mentioned to you last week that we felt very good about our timeline. That just confirmed our timeline that we had. And then again, we were able to determine what vehicle was following Mollie. We identified that vehicle belonging to Mr. Rivera, and then we located him, interviewed him, and subsequently he led us to her location.
How long have you been talking to him? You said 2 weeks ago you got this video. How long have you been talking to the suspect before finally...
we first approached Mr. Rivera yesterday.
Did he put up a fight at all when you guys approached him?
No, he's very compliant. He was willing to talk with us, and so there was no, as you said, fight. There's no fight or any struggle of any kind.
Does Rivera have a criminal background, any charges in his past?
Again, I won't be able to release some of that information at this time.
Did he think using a translator to communicate with him?
Yes.
Is he from Mexico?
We believe he is, yes. His name will be listed on the complaint and affidavit along with the photograph, so we can provide that for you later.
And did he get out of his car?
Since you haven't talked to him until yesterday, what do you believe he was doing in those weeks since then? Do you believe he's been following the investigation, attending the vigils? Has he been aware of what's going on? It'd be hard to believe he couldn't be with all the posters and things and living locally.
Can't really speak to that at this point. As I mentioned to you before, we're doing some more interviews. We're trying to get as much background on Mr. Rivera as possible, and so I don't have all the answers for you on that, but I know that he was working, and beyond that, I'm not sure what he was doing coming and going.
Do you think he was aware of Mollie before? Did he know who she was? Did he know her running routes, or was he familiar?
Again, there's certain parts of the investigation I will not be able to release, and that happens to be one of them I won't be able to speak on. You had a question here?
Reward money that Crime Stoppers has.
What about the reward money? I'm sorry?
What happens now with that reward money that was collected by Crime Stoppers?
That's not for me to say. I don't play a role in that, so I'm not sure what will happen with the money or the reward.
Did you say this was the first time he had seen Mollie Tibbetts, or was he casing or stalking her previously?
I can tell you that he tells us that he had seen her before, but beyond that, I won't be able to say any more about his interactions with Mrs. Tibbetts.
Can you talk about the emotional toll this has taken on the investigators? Obviously, it's been hard on the community, the family, but you guys have been working on this day in and day out, and you get a conclusion today or early this morning. Can you talk about what that's like?
These are hard. I mean, we get to know the family. We get to know Mollie. We just spoke with the family, and I told him that they raised a great daughter. I mean, she was a phenomenal individual, and so we are saddened for the family. It is difficult on the investigators. However, that's what we're paid to do, and we try to do it as best as we possibly can. We're just happy that we're able to locate him, get him charged, and then hopefully come out with a successful conclusion, that being a conviction.
Does it seem like he followed along with her in the car first and was talking to her, then got out and ran along with her? Can you clean that part up just for me a little bit?
As we understand it, based on our investigation, he followed her around, circled around a couple times, located her, and then began to interface with her at some point in time on 385th Street.
You know you can't get into who's living in the area?
I'm sorry?
How's the family doing? What did they say when you spoke with them?
Well, they're appreciative that we're able to find her, but obviously it's difficult. It's hard on them, and they're struggling like any family would. But they have a great support system, and they have part of that support system is the community. Now, I will have to say that the community here has been phenomenal. They have been of great assistance to the investigation and to the family, and so they will get through it, I'm sure. It's going to be hard, but we will be there for them.
How surprised are you that he's still here?
I'm sorry?
You said that there, I think you said that there were 2 areas of investigation, one on 385th and another one. Is that true?
Well, the location where she was found is on 460th, and we believe the running route in which she was running was on 385th Street, yes.
Do you know any reasoning why, where she was dumped or where her body was found?
Again, there are certain things I won't be able to release on the investigation. Yes.
Do you have any idea how long ago she was killed or how long she was dead?
Well, we know that she was abducted on the 18th, and beyond that, we wouldn't be able to provide that information.
How surprised are you that he didn't try to flee? It appears that he stayed in the area.
I can't speak. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking and what his mind process was, so I can't really speak to that. I mean, yeah, I don't have an answer to that. Yes, sir.
I know you can't talk specifically about the motive, but what can you tell us about the motive and how a young 20-year-old innocent girl is now dead?
So you're asking me about the motive? Well, again, I can't really speak about the motive as you said. I can just tell you that it seemed that he followed her and seemed to be drawn to her on that particular day. And for whatever reason, he chose to abduct her. So I can't speak other than that.
Did you detect any signs of a struggle? Did you see any bruises on Mollie's body? Do you believe she may have been raped?
Can't speak to that as well because we don't want to be able to release that information at this time. I can tell you that an autopsy is going to be performed that'll assist us. That autopsy is going to take place tomorrow up in Ankeny at the State Medical Examiner's office. And so we will await those results. Sometimes that takes a while, and that'll aid us as well in the investigation.
How long do you think she was dead for?
I can't speak to that as well. Again, that goes with the State Medical Examiner's examination of Mollie.
Was that surveillance video the break in the case? I mean, for a month, you've been asking the public for tips and help. Without that video, would we maybe never know what happened to Mollie?
The video was critical. I'll put it that way. Again, we have talked to hundreds of people. Over 4,000 leads came in on this investigation, and so it was extremely helpful, let's put it that way.
Is Mr. Rivera someone who was well known in the community? Did lots of people know him, or did he kind of keep to himself?
As I understand, he pretty much kept to himself.
Did he face any previous deportation orders?
That would be a question to be answered by the Homeland Security investigation, not I.
Anything you can tell us about Rivera's role in the community here? Did he work here? Had he been here for a long time?
He was employed here, and again, as I previously mentioned, he was here, we believe, anywhere between 4 to 7 years, but beyond that, I don't have any additional information.
Did he indicate if
Yes, sir. Did you have a question?
Do you all believe that he acted alone, that he was the only one involved in this?
Well, the investigation is ongoing, like I said, and we continue to look at a number of different individuals and people, continue to collect facts, and at this point, though, I can tell you he's the only one that has been charged with first-degree murder.
Sorry, how that you can't say anything? You said he's been here for at least 7 years. Can you say anything about his employment history?
I would choose not to do that at this point, no. Here at the Powashik County Jail. Yes, sir.
Did it seem like he placed the body there immediately, or did he try to conceal it elsewhere prior?
Again, those are certain facts that I wouldn't be able to release at this time. As I previously mentioned, we continue to run out leads, we continue to gather facts, we continue to analyze evidence, and we'll be able to have some of those questions for you as things go on. I got about one more question for you.
Can you talk to us about those?
I'm sorry?
When the autopsy be back?
Autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow. However, it takes a while to get the results, and so that may take anywhere up to 4 to 6 weeks. We just can't predict that, but the autopsy will be tomorrow.
We talked so much about the Fitbit. Was that helpful at all?
I can tell you that we, as I have said previously, that we examined her digital footprint, and certainly that played a role in our investigation. One last question, and that's it.
Any advice to young women out there, anything they can do to protect themselves, women that are out jogging, women who might be vulnerable, technology-wise, app-wise, smartphone-wise, TV-wise, anything you can tell them?
Well, certainly it would help to run with others, not to run alone, but I mean, this is a small community. Everybody knew everybody, and certainly she has been running for months, years, and not had any problem that we're aware of. And so this is sadly a tragic event, and we hope that it wouldn't occur anytime in the near future. Thank you.
Well, there you have the, wow, a shocking press conference. An illegal immigrant, an undocumented immigrant, 24-year-old man who has been in this area, in the Brooklyn, Iowa area, Abby, for the last 4 to 7 years, has been charged with first-degree murder in this case involving 20-year-old Mollie Tibbetts. Would have been a sophomore at the University of Iowa this week. There is the picture of Christian Bohena Rivera, 24 years old, and the shocking information that was released today about the video, and they just interviewed him yesterday.
Absolutely. Now let's go ahead and kind of go through, just kind of wrap up everything that was said just now in the press conference. Security cameras were absolutely key in this case in leading to Christian Rivera. Security cameras that came in, they found out about these security cameras through different tips that people had left on all of the tip lines. They said the video was critical in this. They identified Mr. Rivera's vehicle. It was a black Malibu. They then tracked his patterns. They then saw Mollie actually running on one of the videos.
That was just shocking to me that he was running in his vehicle. He was following her, first of all, and then pulled up beside her, was following her, and then at one point, you know, she said, "You need to leave me alone. I'm going to call police." Just an extraordinary piece of information there coming from that press conference, the news conference conducted by the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. And they pulled him in and interviewed him yesterday. They interrogated him. I'm sure they broke him down for several hours, and then he eventually led them to the body about 15 miles southeast of the Brooklyn, Iowa area. That's Mollie's hometown. Just incredible information coming out of that press conference here today.
Now, other information that they released today, they cannot say if Rivera actually knew Mollie before all of this happened. They did say that her body was found in a cornfield right at around 460th Avenue in rural Poweshiek County. Corn stalks have been placed on top of her, which is why it made it very difficult for them to actually locate Mollie's body. Yeah,
the extraordinary search that had been going on just failed to produce the body. I think a question a lot of people will have is, why wasn't this video seen by authorities a little bit earlier than just recently? I mean, they said they just got it recently, just interviewed Mr. Rivera as early as yesterday. So this is over a month after Mollie went missing, was first reported missing after her jog. So.
And one question that one reporter asked, which I thought was very interesting, he did say that Rivera had seen Mollie before, but he would not elaborate on those details. So, of course, this investigation, we're going to find out much more information in the days to come. An autopsy, of course, is going to happen tomorrow at the State Medical Examiner's office in Ankeny.
You know, there are some reports out there that he may have been stalking her before, and of course, if he lived in this area for 4 to 7 years, and of course, the DCI agent would not reveal his place of employment, but I'm sure that some people around town had known him, had been aware of him, and certainly he had probably been aware, just speculating here, of course. And of course, you see Rob Tibbetts, Mollie's dad, there in the background, and I believe that's not live, is it? That's from a previous news conference? Okay, old video, okay, some archive video. I didn't think he was going to be there today. In fact, we weren't sure if any family members would be there today. Laura, her mother, Laura Calderwood, or her brother, or her boyfriend, of course, and we have to pray for the family. They've been through so much. What just a terrible time for them, and to have it end this way with a murder investigation and a charge of first-degree murder against a 24-year-old man who is an undocumented immigrant here in our part of the state.
And of course, you know, all of us have been following this. Of course, we follow this because we work in the news business, but let's be honest, we've all followed it outside of work as well. This also in the case of Jake Wilson. It has touched all of our hearts because it's happened right here in our own backyard. And one article that I had read, and I had spoken with Mollie's mom the day after she went missing, and the word that she used, which I think just absolutely pinpoints the emotions, is excruciating. Not knowing where her child was at the time, and of course today, I'm sure that pain, I can't even begin
and still not knowing exactly the pain that she may have suffered. We hope that it wasn't something, a rape or a sexual assault or you know, a brutal beating. We don't know, but her family is still going through that right now, this excruciating pain. Even though the body has been found, it's just a horrible time for them. They certainly need our prayers.
Absolutely. Again, a first-degree murder charge for Christian Bohena Rivera, and I believe he is 24 years old in some of the reports that I am seeing. Of course, we'll be back here in just about 40 minutes with KWWL News at 5. We have many crews that are on the scene at that press conference and at all the areas around, including where Mollie Tibbetts' body was found at 460th Avenue this morning.
Yeah, they won't say exactly yet. Of course, cause of death pending the autopsy, and they didn't think, or would not say at least, how long they believe she had been dead. We would probably assume shortly after the abduction, if that's what it was. More news coming up here in just a moment. Thanks for watching.